great talk with. His name is Chris Armitage, and he is running in Washington State, Congressional District 5. So thank you so much for coming back, Chris. We love to have you.
I'm happy to be here. I got to bring two extra guests, my COVID beard and hair. Because I would love a
you.
haircut. I'm not gonna trust anybody who doesn't know what they're doing right now, to mess with my
Yeah.
hair.
Yeah, this is the longest my hair's been since in probably over a decade. But my husband's like, no, you can't cut it. So I guess I have to keep it. But you are, like I said, running for Congress. You have been running for a while, probably over a year, right?
A year and 2 weeks. Yeah, a year and 2 weeks about.
Wow.
That's
intense.
It's a lifestyle. It's become my way of life. Not something I expected, but as far as like I mean, you don't. When I jumped into this, it's funny because conservatives online have said things like, "Oh, this is who the Democrats are running." Nobody's running me. I was just mad at how things were and said, "All right, well, I think I can do it better. So I'll either find out I can't do it better and things were the way they are for a reason, or I will do a better job." And so far, being honest and straightforward is working out. But the things they don't tell you about when you're running for office, like they tell you, I've been told by people at high-level trainers who say, yeah, you should spend 4 hours a day calling rich people begging for money. And I'm not a big fan of doing that too much, really, because you're only speaking to one subsect of society. And even with the best intentions, they're getting more influence over you. Anyone who's talking to you is influencing you. So it's been a learning experience.
Absolutely. And what is it like since you've been campaigning so long to all of a sudden for the past 2 months not be able to actually knock on doors?
Yeah, it's been interesting because we're planning on knocking on every single door in the district. We already had canvassing operations. We actually rented an RV and visited 25 towns, 16 towns in 14 days before the quarantine started. But of course, Washington was an early adopter with protective measures, and so we were still safe at that point. But yeah, we visited 16 towns in 14 days because our district is 25% bigger than New Jersey, and that was a big part of our strategy: is going to the places nobody running for Congress has ever visited. And so now it's a lot more digital out or cold calling strangers, phone banking. But me as the candidate, I like calling people who don't expect our calls. Even a lot of Trump supporters. Last time I was on, I mentioned the ad we ran targeted to Trump supporters, saying, "Hey, feel free to give me a call and I'll talk to you." It actually said, "Yell at me if you want to." That's just the lead.
I mean, I can appreciate that. I probably would take someone up on that. That's awesome, though, that you're still phone banking and everything like that. Now, in Washington, refresh my memory, you guys do top 2 Democrats, correct?
Top 2 of either party. So there could be 2 Republicans in the general. There could be 2 Democrats. It's just we have an open primary, and so there's 3 Republicans and me. And I'm really proud to be the Democrat in the race. I don't know. I don't know if I really expected for that to happen because I'm not someone who was picked. I'm not someone who was groomed. I just stepped up and we made a plan and we adjusted the plan as we went, and the team grew and grew, and I just showed up everywhere. And eventually, different organizations were like, Chris has been in our living room 3 times. I think it's about time we endorse him. And so that's how we ended up here.
Wow. So that's crazy. So you're the only Dem running. So in theory, it could be you against a Republican, or it could be, 2 Republicans. But I think that
we've never had 2 Republicans make it to the general.
I was going to say that would be really weird and rare. So
yeah, we're about +8 red, +7, +8. and that happens more in like plus 30 districts, blue or red. We've coalesced the forces here. It's also in a district that leans one way or the other. In a very blue district with a top two primary, you would not want more than one Republican, and so the Republicans in those districts try to keep it to one. So there were definitely some establishment folks who were hoping they would be able to get someone in the race who would take corporate money or be more influenceable. The only people that influence me are the people, not the establishment.
Right answer. So as far as, running against Republicans, is one of the three Republicans the incumbent?
Yes.
Okay, so what are they like? What differentiate yourself from them? What makes you different? What
That's a good question. And a lot of folks, I believe I'm the only Medicare for all, no corporate or money candidate running head to head against a Republican incumbent in a district, or the sole Democratic challenger against an incumbent in a district that was on 2018's red to blue list, the official DCCC red to blue list. So it's a big accomplishment for us to be here, as we were just seen as a flippable district. And my opponent, I mean, they vote with Trump 95% of the time. I don't even know married couples that agree 95% of the time. My opponent gets $5 million every 2-year cycle, and it's not coming from in this district. It's because they're a rubber stamp for corporate interests, for greed. And if something good happens, if they support something good, it is incidental to their corporate interests. This district on the last census had 11% unemployment. They have not done favors for us. Their voting record has not done favors for us. They voted against reauthorizing the Violence Against Women Act. They voted against the Equal Rights Amendment. They said we should overturn Roe v. Wade. They called impeachment a sham. All these different things. They vote along the lines of the most extreme members of the Republican Party. They are, and also, I mean, it's just rubber stamp, not what this district needs, not what the American public needs.
Are you finding that when we're door knocking and doing phone calls, are you finding that people are open to someone progressive?
I mean, it takes a certain type of character, and that's part of the challenge with COVID is communication, and your resume make a big difference. The fact is, I have more in common with your average conservative, blue collar conservative, than my opponent ever will. My opponent first got elected public office when I was 2 years old. They worked for a politician before that. They don't know a real honest day's work, but they sell themselves as this farm girl, just hanging out while they wear their $300 scarves, and so there have been people who say, "Oh, you're a Democrat," and tell me to kick rocks, and then I let them know, you know what? I care about this country. I serve this country. I've done a heck of a lot more to defend our Constitution and the American public than my opponent ever will. And when and I recognize I have some privilege here too. I'm a white guy, and I think straight passing is the term that people use. And so there's privilege associated with that. And but speak, hopefully we, those of us who have different privilege, we can use it to be allies. And that's what I hope to do here is, I speak to different voters from all different backgrounds. I just got off a 1-hour phone call with a guy who his self-explanation was that he's a free market capitalist. And we spoke for an hour, and it was a good conversation. And he said he's going to donate. And I told him I'm not a free market capitalist, but I'll listen to him, I'll respect him, and I'll have a real dialogue trying to find solutions that work for all of us.
Right on. As far as being in the military, do you want to share your experience and, how that influences, what your decisions would be on foreign policy and things like that?
And that's a good question. We actually were lucky enough recently to do a brand new Congress Veterans Town Hall. I'm a member of brand new Congress, very proud to be on the slate. And so it was a Veterans Town Hall, and it was a pretty lively discussion. And and there was a really good discussion around interventionism. Is there ever a time to get militarily engaged with other countries? Now, obviously, right now we know we were lied. We were lied to when we went into Iraq and Afghanistan. We know that. Uh, George W. Bush is wanted for war crimes by the International Criminal Courts. He could be tried by them, but nobody's going to arrest a former U.S. president for war crimes and allow them to be put on trial, which is a damn shame, because do we claim to be a country that believes in law and order and justice? Justice. I mean, that, something I learned from the military was that, when we were doing, I was law enforcement in the military, and I also did 911 operator work, and I deployed. But one of the first, as security, one of the first lessons they taught us, Staff Sergeant Boyd actually told me this on my first day in patrol. And I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I'm driving in a cop car, because I was 19 and thought it was really cool. And it was military police, so it's not the same, as civilian law enforcement. But he told me, you're not, if the BX, the base exchange, offers you a cup of coffee for free, you cannot accept that. You can't. And it's not allowed. It's unethical. It could make it look like you'll give them preferential treatment. It might make them feel that way. But members of Congress, the Supreme Court ruled they can literally be given Corvettes and fur jackets. And unless you can prove explicitly that the pharmaceutical company said, here's your fur coat for your wife, and if now you need to vote yes on this bill. Unless you can prove that, it's a free-for-all. And that's because we don't have justice in this country. If you're poor, you're going to go to jail while they wait for you to go to trial, and you might have to plea deal because our court system's overrun, and they give easier deals to people who they know can put up a fight in court. If you're a cop, if you pull someone over in a Tesla, it's going to be easier for them to sue you if they just don't like you for no reason. And you pull someone up in an old beater, there's plenty of cops out there who, I have a friend who some cops found him just sitting by the water. He struggles with a lot of depression, and just sitting by the water quietly was nice for him. The cop came over and was like, give me your backpack, shook out his backpack, just completely violated his rights. He did not, the impoverished, the working class, we don't have constitutional rights here. And the elites, they live above the law. So what did I learn from the military? I learned that ethics matter, but this is going to have to go to a much higher level, because it's not going to be fixed with an on-the-street cop. It's not going to be fixed with a soldier out in the field. It's going to be fixed at a much higher level through civil action.
Absolutely. Speaking of criminal justice, what is something else you want to change should you be elected? Do you guys have for-profit prisons in Washington State?
There's federal ones here, including the ICE detention facility that I visited with 2018 National Teacher of the Year Mandy Manning. At the state level, they're banned, and we're working on passing a law that will actually not allow the federal government to start new private prisons here.
Right on.
Criminal justice reform. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's quite a few things we need to get done, and coalition building, this is an opportunity for that. So I actually have a lot of support from the libertarian community, and it's because I support repealing the Patriot Act. I support decriminalizing drug use. I support decriminalizing sex work. I support ending forever work, but it's not criminal justice, obviously. But my point is, these are opportunities to build coalitions with these kind of policies that you're never going to get from establishment folks. The cash bail system's a problem. New Jersey created a really interesting algorithm, actually, to address someone's likelihood of recommitting or committing a crime if they're released. Specifically after a young man spent, I think 2 or 3 years imprisoned, and for a petty crime that he ended up not being convicted of. They found him innocent or not guilty, and he had already spent 2 or 3 years of his life in jail. And so our criminal justice system, it's not a justice system. It's a very unjust system, and there's a lot more we need to do. I think, when it comes to, I'll talk tyranny real quick. Tyranny is when a system gets set up so that the people at the bottom have to follow the rules and face consequences, but don't get any of the benefit or protections. And then the people at the top get the protections, but they don't get the rules. And that's what we're trying to fix here with our criminal justice system.
Absolutely. And going back to your ICE comment, do you have a lot of immigrants in your district? And if so, are they reaching out to you and, asking for help?
Yeah, absolutely. As of the last census, our Latinx Hispanic population was about 5% of our district. I'm guessing it'll be around 10 now. It's a tougher community to break through to. They're pretty understandably wary. We have a lot of a large Native American population in our community as well, and it's the same thing. They've been had people talking out of both sides of their mouths for a long time. There was a time where you could rely on a Democrat to be pro-union or to be pro this. You could rely on Republicans to be pro-immigration. That was their shtick for a little bit. You could rely. They were courting that. And now it's all just been tossed on its head because being a Republican just means being a Republican. It doesn't mean specific policies in the same as Democrats. Now, as far as supporting those communities, I was fortunate enough I went to the Washington State Democratic Convention for the first time a few months ago, and it was actually a pretty great experience. I met a bunch of different caucuses, and one of them was the Hispanic Latinx caucus, and they let me know that they've, to their knowledge, never had a representative for their caucus representing our entire congressional district, which there's a sizable Hispanic Latinx, representation here, or exist, folks living here. And so we got connected and found the right people, and now there's a representative here, and we have a good dialogue. And it's difficult in the age of COVID, but we're doing everything we can to reach out to people, to communicate with people. We're kind of creating new systems as we go. So hopefully we can help streamline that and just get more people having their voices heard.
Yeah. And speaking of COVID, does you do support Medicare for all?
Yeah.
And when you're talking to people in your constituents, do they seem more open to it now?
Absolutely. I'll tell you too that there's a lot of people who they say, "Oh, but I think public option would be good." Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, like if that gets in front of me, I'm not going to shoot it down. I don't know if that's a controversial thing to say. If a vote for I know single payer Medicare for all would be better, unequivocally. I also know that right now we got to get something moving in the right direction. I'm not taking big pharma money. I'm not taking Wall Street bank money. A lot of people hear Medicare for all, hear a single payer, and they're worried that their options are going to dry up. And I can explain to them that actually everything becomes an option then. But people want to hear too that, because like I said, this is a conservative leaning district. Just letting them know that I'm not going to get in the way of progress. I'm not going to let perfect be the enemy of good, So hopefully we can help get it all sorted out. I think even if Bernie Sanders had been the candidate and gotten elected, are there enough votes in Congress for Medicare for all? Well, there's going to be one more once I get there. And that's how we coalition build. That's how we build support. And I'm always going to fight for the best solution. And so people aren't that, I've met people too, ranchers who, they say, I want my healthcare not tied to my employer. Just don't take my gun. And that was a real statement that I was told. And I was like, if that's what it takes, I want you to have healthcare.
Yeah, right on. I kind of digress a bit, but speak of Medicare for all and how you're going to pay for it, you do understand MMT, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. And I don't try to really do a lot of public explaining on it, just because some people I think aren't going to shift their thinking no matter what. But I actually had Fadel Kobaub on our live stream a few weeks ago, and I completely understand. It's funding these programs is investing in our economy, and we have the money. We make the money, and then we try to tax as much of it back as we can. So that's why I support single payer, because it's pragmatic and it makes sense. the only reason I would support anything else is just because I do want people who don't have it to have it as soon as possible. And I know Representative Ocasio-Cortez said the same thing. She said, if public option is our compromise, that's better than where we are now. But of course, single payer Medicare for all would be the best solution.
Yeah, we love Fadl here. He's a part of Real Progressive, so he's part of the team. We adore him. As far as Washington State, you guys are one of the single payer states. Like, you have whole Washington. You had the bill that almost passed, not HR 776, but the other one, and I can't think of what the number is. But we've kind of, like, I'm in Pennsylvania, but we've kind of been looking to Washington and California to be the ones, like, we just need one state and then we'll see how many lives are saved, and then we can go, and make it federal. So we definitely have our eye on Washington. So just switching a bit, but you you support the Green New Deal. What respects of that do you think are the most important for your state or even your district?
Yeah, well, like I said too, our district is very, very large, and there's even a cessation movement, uh, like within a chunk of our district in Idaho and Oregon to form their own state of all the rural areas in each state. So it covers a lot of land, and so there's a lot very diverse needs. We have a massive farming community, dry land, wheat, and great vineyards down in the Walla Walla Valley. And then we have 2/3 of our population in Spokane, the second biggest city in the state. So really diverse economic needs out here. And so I think it's going to be diverse things we need, but we're building the Green New Deal. We get to do that together with the community. We get to say, what do you need? I speak to farmers. I was on a panel with farmers a few months ago talking about the Green New Deal. You know what? They want the greener equipment, but not because it's greener equipment, because it also happens to be more efficient. It's higher technology that helps a drop of rain go farther, helps your soil be sustainable for longer. But these are big investments, and 70% of the last farm bill went to the top 10% highest earning farms. So when we're talking about what the Green New Deal is going to look like, we're talking about helping small farmers get into farming, or sorry, to buy equipment, upgrade equipment. We're talking about helping new people get into farming, because you know what, right now the average farmer in America is a 58-year-old white guy, and I don't have a problem with 58-year-old white guys. But you know what? I've met a lot of people from marginalized and impacted communities and people of color and all different groups who maybe grew up in the city, didn't grow up in rural communities. But if you told them, we're going to help you start a farm, we're going to teach you, we're going to get you there, and it's all going to be sustainable, and it's going to be green, it's going to be decentralized, it's going to be independent. That's something that makes America safer. It makes us, more capable of taking care of ourselves in times of emergency. And that resonates with people in all of our communities. And so getting people to work, helping our rural farming communities. And then also there's a particular facet that I'm advocating for, something along the lines of a civilian horse corps, which would be an offshoot of a modern civilian conservation corps. And the civilian horse corps would be tens of thousands of folks employed with a quality living wage. And their job would be to help tend to native wildlife populations and native plant populations. And so you could be on horseback, and your job would be to your little squadron tend to the wild succulent populations out here, help this forest grow back, help increase the native buffalo populations. And a side effect of this would be that it would help connect us again to the environment around us, because there was a time where conservatives were conservationists. And I think we need to return to that, because what could be more conservative than caring for the resources that you have?
Absolutely. So it almost sounds kind of like a federal job guarantee, essentially.
Yes, I support the federal jobs guarantee portion. If you want a job, you should be able to get one. You should be able to raise a family on one income if you so choose to have a family. And that, when people talk make America great again, tell me what great looks like. If you're talking 1958 to 1964, where my grandfather was able to graduate high school, get a good union entry-level job, raise a family of 5 on that single income, have a car, have a house, provide for everyone. Yeah, that's greatness right there. The best schools in the world, like we used to have, that's greatness. Breathable air, breathable water, leading the world in all these important factors in the standard of living of our people. That's greatness. Let's go for it.
Absolutely. You also, oh, we lost Chris. Let me, give it a minute. Hopefully he'll come back.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We're having some internet issues at the office. Otherwise, I'd be using some other stuff.
It's
Can you hear me all right?
Let me turn this down. Now I'm hearing an echo, so I want to make sure.
I could probably switch to a different mic too, but let me know if you need me to do that.
What I was going to say next is that you support free college tuition.
Yes, and a big part of what I mentioned there too is tuition-free trade schools. I really want to create incentives. When you join the military, if you go into a field that's very in demand, like HVAC was when we first went into Iraq and Afghanistan, you could get some sign-on bonuses. And that's because the military needed you to do those jobs. Well, why aren't we doing that with the rest of our society? Doesn't the rest of our society need more plumbers and need more electricians? And so I want to create programs where unions can get grants and financial incentives for trade skill programs and give financial incentives for people to enter those fields, lower the barriers of entry for people to enter the trades. But of course, I've guarded about $80 billion worth of bombs and fighter jets, which is how much 1 year of public university tuition would be. And so it seems like a reasonable investment because those bombs just blow up, maybe kill some people. But when you get people educated, they can actually advance your society in a positive way that makes us stronger.
Absolutely. Do you support student loan forgiveness?
Yep. And for a pragmatic reason, I want you to be able to spend that money each month. We have a consumer-based economy. Instead of that money just going to a bank and sitting there, why don't we get you buying goods? I heard someone complain recently, oh, people are just spending their stimulus checks on flat screen TVs. So why aren't you making flat screen TVs then, Mr. Capitalist?
Yeah. Hey, Sue said we should subsidize small farms in rural areas and invest in suburbs and urban areas to create community food gardens, self-reliance. Do you guys have a lot of food deserts where you are?
Not a ton, but our reservations do, in particular. Those are rough ones. And, you just, unfortunately, a lot of folks in those communities here in our district, they because of all the negative things that have been done to them, they don't still have those skills for creating a lot of the things that they created for so long. And so you go, through a reservation supermarket or market and it's it's your cereals and your microwavable foods and not fresh vegetables. And you know what, the one we've been talking about getting a sign up in the office, I think it's a Taoist expression, I don't know, but someone said it to me once: the obstacle is the way. I think I had a drill instructor yell it at me once. The obstacle is the way. Food deserts, it's an obstacle, it's a challenge. Addressing it makes us strong, makes us healthier, makes us safer, makes us better. Let's address it. Solving problems is what makes us better.
Absolutely. So, a lot of us are feeling defeated, and with Burn dropping out, and and everything's just very sad and morose for a lot of us. So what, what kind of messages are you giving people when they're saying, shit's really fucked up right now. I don't have the energy to keep fighting. Like, what is your message to people who feel that way?
Well, to start, self-care matters. Being an activist is an exhausting activity and it burns a lot of people out. I've struggled, over the last few months, particularly with COVID and then, with other things going on. It's tough. I've seen other candidates, talking about the mental health challenges they've faced with everything going on. And so connect with people and tend to your own garden too, because you're not going to be able to make the world a better place if your heart isn't right. And but after that, I think it's really about focusing down ballot. And people say that, but that's where our power is. If Bernie Sanders was president and he had a blue dog Congress, nothing's getting done. Ideally, we don't have a dictatorship. We don't. So what would he have spent his first term doing? Helping people primary incumbents, helping strengthen their campaigns, and then it would take 2 years and hopefully some of those seats flip so we can get those extra votes to, because also, what else happens in Congress? Leverage all over the place. They get to throw in riders and take out good things, that poison pills. We need a lot of seats in Congress, more than we need the presidency. If we had uncorrupted, non-bought people in the House and the Senate holding majorities, it wouldn't matter Donald Trump is president. It wouldn't. And it wouldn't, and with a Congress that is corrupted and for sale, it would make less of a difference. I mean, you can sign executive orders, but that's where our country's gotten to now, is we look to the president to solve everything. You know what I'm going to do if I get elected? You're going to see me at fundraisers for freaking dog catchers in my neighborhood, all right? A down ballot all over the place. And I'll call someone out right now because she doesn't return my calls. Representative Jayapal, why aren't you there for whole Washington? Why aren't you supporting down ballot progressives? Well, she did endorse Beth Dolio, and I'll give her credit on that. But we have single payer in Washington State, and as a U.S. representative, be there for the candidates that are going to fight for single payer in your state. And so that's where you're going to see me. I'll be at school board candidate events. I'll be at state house members, city council members. You're going to see me there supporting those down ballot candidates, because that's where we make the real change.
Absolutely. I say that all the time. It's so important that even as small as a position of, council, school board, whatever, you may think it's small, but this is how we, touch everything in our communities that is directly affecting us. So great point. As far as Pramila, I was on to her over a year ago. So yes, yes, everyone I know in whole Washington has the same story. She's not receptive. She's not getting back to people. She's not, opening the door to discussion about Medicare for all, which is something she says she stands for. So it's very disappointing. Now, when is your actual primary date?
August 4th.
Okay, so August. And when do they start sending the ballots out?
2 weeks prior.
2 weeks?
Yeah. It might be 4, actually. I might have to double check on that.
Now, you guys have always had mail-in, right?
For quite a long time, not as long as Oregon. This year, we also started automatic voter registration, though, which is pretty exciting.
Ooh, that is exciting. So if somebody has automatic voter registration when they turn 18, do they just get registered like as independent?
We don't register as a party in Washington State.
Oh.
I got some sparkling water.
That must be nice.
Yeah, we don't register with the party. We, which I think is good. Most of our down ballot races are nonpartisan, which creates some interesting ticket splits. And I'm going on a tear. I called out Representative Jayapal. I might as well keep going for it. Destroy the two-party system. I'm just gonna, and I'm the Democrat in this race, by the way. I'm the one in this race, and I'm saying, don't vote for parties, vote for people. If there was a congressional District 5 party, and I hope people across the nation will help support our race, because my opponent gets 5 million a cycle from outside interests that know she's going to be a rubber stamp for their wants. And your representative might not support Medicare for all. So when you support someone like me who can really flip a seat, that goes a long way. But we people need more than just parties. If we could really hold people accountable and reduce the influence of gatekeepers, that would be great. You should be the gatekeeper. The voter should be the gatekeeper, not a party.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ben Riley, for your donation. And you are so right. What if we were the heroes we were waiting for? Absolutely. Great point. As far as election security, I swear when I interviewed people in 2018, you guys got like a little number that you could look up on your ballot to make sure it had been counted? Do they still do that?
We'll have to look into that. That's a good question.
Do so, because that would be kind of cool to like know, that your ballot is actually counted. Do you have trepidation about, anything shady going on during the process?
I've heard stories of, ballots being left around, but it's nothing I could really confirm too much. I think Washington State does our best. From my perspective, we're going to run this race. We're going to give it our all. If we hear anything actionable, because, I hear rumors about my opponent, weird little accusations or whatever, some of which might be more or less credible. And, I'll go after their record. I'll go after something that's really confirmable. But, it's the same with ballots. Unless we have something actionable, we're just going to run the heck out of this race. We're going to do it being brutally honest. And you know what? That's why if people can contribute, like I said, the establishment hasn't been here for us. I wasn't picked. And obviously, they're not going to control what I say or don't say. So people across the country got to decide if that matters to them, if that goes with their values. And I know it's tough right now, but that's also part of the plan. Jeff Bezos is about to become the world's first trillionaire, and we're struggling. But we got to do what we can. We need volunteers too. Let us know. We need text bankers.
Awesome. As far as, I'm sorry, my brain just melted.
Right before this,
I was looking at the comments.
I went for like a 5-mile walk right before this, and so I'm like a weird. I feel good though.
Well, what is something that you would like to, leave our viewers with? What do you want them to take away from this interview so that they would, share with people in Washington, your website or this interview, and also hopefully throw in a few dollars of a donation?
I think the message I really want to leave people with is that we're not guaranteed victory. You don't fight for what's right because you know you're going to win. You fight for what's right for the people you don't know, the people you're never going to meet, the future generations, the future of our planet. But if we work really hard, we got a shot at it. You got to at least show up to have a chance. And the message I think that's going to bring a lot of people together outside of just the folks who agree on pretty much every policy is that we believe in unity. Heck yeah, I believe in unity. A unity around morality and ethical policy that puts people first. Not a unity around morally vacuous non-policy, and not a unity around fascism. A unity built on our character and our morals, because that's what we're fighting here for. And if people ask us to be civil, my thing is, that's a luxury. Congratulations. But I think marginalized, impacted communities, the working class. Everyone is being screwed over. The 700,000 people dead in Iraq and Afghanistan because of a war we were brought into for lies. I think all of those people and you deserve someone who's going to get mad as hell and stand up. It's us versus big money, but that means we need a lot of us. So I hope you'll consider chipping in, volunteering, armitageforcongress.com, ARMITAGEFOR Congress.com. I'm real easy to get a hold of. Easiest way is our DMs on Twitter. We just changed our Twitter.
I know. I couldn't find it. When I was going to tag you, I'm like, wait, what the hell?
I can't remember what the new one is. I can't remember what it, Armitage 2020, I think.
At Armitage 2020.
I don't know. Maybe we can put it in the comments or something.
Yeah, I seriously think it's, or maybe Armitage for 2020. It's something like that. But if you type ARMIT, it comes up.
My whole Washington family is going to be real happy about my shout outs on here. I was throwing some shade in the name of whole Washington because I love whole Washington, and who knows how much a freshman member of Congress can do. Sure, but where are you for the down ballots? A lot of this, and cross ballots. I'm going to be putting in work to build a team, to build a group. That's how you get things done in the electoral process. It doesn't happen on your own.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us again, Chris. I wish you the best of luck as always. Thank you guys so much for watching. I have some great shows coming up. I have Shahid Butari is coming back on Tuesday. I have Luke Savage coming back on Friday. I may do a birthday Thursday. I'm not sure, depending how depressed I am. I'm turning 41. And then the 26th, I have Samley's Lopez from New York, who's just awesome. 27th, I have Leslie Lee the third. He's on Twitter. If you guys want to follow him, he's hilarious. Then another Washington person, candidate Rebecca Parsons, I have coming back June 1st.
Rebecca's awesome. My fellow BNC slate mate, I love Rebecca.
And she's MMT. And then the 4th, I have Miss Angela Walker, who is the Green VP choice for Howie Hawkins. So she'll be joining us to talk about their run. Oh, and also for those who don't know, Pat the Burner / Pat Coat / Nate's Liver and I have been writing a book, and it's a parody about resistors and pussy hats and things like that. And we're having so much fun, and pre-orders will be going up next month. So we're cracking ourselves up. So we're just looking to hopefully, have some of it be therapeutic for people through this hard time. So thank you guys so much again for watching, and thank you, Chris. Again, best of luck.
Take it easy, everybody. Thanks for having me.